What's up, y'all? It's Truth Tiger, and today I'm going to talk about people who love to follow the crowd, people who love to follow the herd, and I'm going to tell you why they love to follow the herd, why they love to conform, and unfortunately most people are like this, and there's a lot of reasons why they like to do this. First and foremost, they do not have a good sense of their own identity. And because they do not have a good sense of their own personal identity, they seek their identity in a collectivistic crowd, and actually their whole entire identity is not based upon something internal, but their whole entire identity is externally focused on who they are in this social group, what kind of role they play in this social group, and it's more about just being fanatically subscribed to some, big social group or some part of societal programming, or I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a this with politics, I'm a this with whatever, I'm into this and that, I believe this and that, I'm a fan of this and that. There's so many different things that people do to look for external identities. There's too many things to name. The biggest ones are probably like politics and religion and stuff like that. People seek a lot of sense of identity in the job they do, the school they went to, the sports team they're into, what kind of clique they're in, whatever. People seek identity in what kind of music they're into. People seek all kinds of identity in these types of things. And it's not a big deal to have some type of identity in external things. It's not a huge deal, but the problem is that people, this is their only sense of identity that they have whatsoever. And the thing is, they don't want to look inward. They don't want to be their own people. They don't want to think for themselves. And what they really want to do is they want these things to become thought control paradigms for them. And with politics and religion especially, this is crazy, but they want these things to be thought control paradigms to them so they do not have to think for themselves. They don't want to have to go through the stresses of thinking for themselves. They don't want to have to put in that work. And not only that, but thinking for yourself requires choosing between right and wrong. It requires being able to look at a situation and to make a determination of good or evil. And sometimes we mess up. I've sometimes gotten confused and have confused good with evil or evil with good. I've done it before. We all have. We're not perfect. We're flawed. We make mistakes. But in general, I've gotten a lot better at figuring that out. And I've been able to, discern good and evil. And for them, they don't want to have to gain the ability to discern good and evil. They just want to have this thought control paradigm think for them. And ultimately, this thought control paradigm will steer them toward evil, because these thought control paradigms are essentially something that is evil disguised as something that is good. They are an angel of light, or an angel of darkness rather, masquerading as an angel of light. And these thought control paradigms will lead people astray because they cannot think for themselves. Another reason why people like to do this is because they are social climbers and they want to become very popular in the herd. They want to be the biggest deer with the biggest antlers or whatever, the biggest whatever in the herd. And, that's their whole sense of value, and all their sense of self-esteem comes from other people. It's all 100% external. They do not carry at all an internal sense of self-esteem or value within themselves. And it all comes from external things. So they want to rise up through the ranks, become whatever, the best deer, the sheep with the most wool, the deer with the biggest antlers, whatever. They want to rise up and become that, and they're very obsessed with that. Rather than just thinking about who they really are, what they really want, what they are really about, they just want to, their whole sense of identity for a lot of these people is how much can they rise in the ranks? How much can they climb the social ladder? That's what they care about, social climbing. And as an individual, you can't social climb. There's nothing individualistic about that. That is 100% about being in the collective group. That is 100% about being a part of the herd, is social climbing. And it's the whole keeping up with the Joneses thing, the whole trying to fit in, the whole trying to look like other people, the whole trying to have all this social status, that is don't underestimate that. That's a huge, huge thing for a lot of people, to be popular, to fit in, to look the right way. I don't really care about that. I'm going to be my own person. But for most people, that's like everything, is conformity, fitting in, being like other people, talking like other people, dressing like other people. And the thing about these people who are conformists, they never stop to think of, like, where did all these ideas originate? These things they conform to. Someone had to be original in the first place and come up with something. And that's what a lot of what they're doing is copying people like us. They're copying the things that we do. They're copying unique and individual souls. And they're trying to, wear our clothes, if you will, even though they're not suited to it. And because they can't think for themselves, unique ideas have to come from somewhere. The next part of this, of where their ideas come from, is a lot darker. The next part of this is a lot more sinister. There are people, especially at the top of our society, they know how to manipulate the herd. They know how to mislead the herd. And a lot of these people, unfortunately, for the most part, these people in the herd, they are being herded by the serpent. They are servants of the serpent, and they are being misled by manipulative people and by the devil himself and by evil itself. They are being misled. And they just kind of follow along with this stuff without questioning where it really came from. And the thing about a lot of the stuff that the serpent will say, that the devil will say, that the manipulative people will say, the thing about it is it appeals to people's egos. They will come up with some type of an ego appeal, tell people, oh, this timeshare is so awesome, it's not so expensive, people are going to think you're cool, whatever, and then they buy into it. Whatever people's ego wants, people want to be better than other people want to get attention more than other people, a lot of people want to be seen as a victim more than other people. Whatever it is, whatever the ego wants, that serpent is going to tell them, oh yeah, well, all your, whatever your ego wants, all the things your ego wants, here you go, just sign on the dotted line, buy the timeshare, sell your soul, get screwed over, whatever. And that's what most people do, because they cannot think for themselves, they cannot be individuals, they don't want to actually look at themselves and have ethics and morals of their own. They don't. They just want to go along with a herd, and they ultimately end up being deceived by the devil, and like a bunch of lemmings, they all run off a cliff together. And that's what the majority of the world is doing. They're like lemmings, all running off a cliff together. And the thing is, it's like, these people think based upon popularity and consensus. So their whole mode of thinking is not about what is actually right or wrong. Their whole mode of thinking is about, if a bunch of other people are doing it, if everybody else says this is the right thing to do or this is true, let's just do it. Rather than actually looking at it for what it is, rather than investigating it for what it is and saying, is this true or is this false, they just all, well, everybody else is doing it, so it must be true. They're all a bunch of lemmings running off a cliff. I should run off the cliff too. And that's how people think. And the thing is, it's like, just because you get a bunch of people all together to repeat a lie and to believe a lie, and just because you get a whole bunch of people to be deceived by a lie and to go on along with a lie, it doesn't make it true. It does not matter how many people get deceived. It does not matter how many people choose to enable that. It does not matter. It does not make the lie true. But most people, they have this consensus bandwagon kind of thinking that if other people are doing it, if it's the cool popular thing and the majority is doing it, it must be correct. It must be right. And that's how the masses are deceived, really, is by that kind of thinking. And a lot of people have that bandwagon way of thinking that if it's the popular thing to do, if it's what they see other people around them doing, they'll just do it. And they won't question whether it is right or wrong, whether it is moral, whether it is truthful, whether it is at all based upon whether there is love for one's fellow within that, whether it has ethics or morals. They won't look at that. They'll just say, well, the herd is doing it. Follow the herd. It must be true if the herd is doing it. And, another reason why people follow the herd is just for protection. They don't want to have to be by themselves, to have to look out for themselves, take care of themselves, you have to think for yourself to take care of yourself, but they don't want to have to, they don't feel safe outside of the herd. Because, I'm trying to think how to describe this, but there is a safety in numbers that they try to go for. It's also a power in numbers. It's also, we got a big dumb mob of people together. We outnumber you, so therefore you got to do what you say. So it's for protection within numbers, and this is ideological protection, and this is, they don't actually get protected. In the end of the day, when the wolves show up, the herd splits apart, and whoever is the weakest or the most vulnerable or whatever gets eaten by the wolves. In the end of the day, they don't have any protection, but there is a perception of protection. That's what I was trying to get at. That's what I was trying to think about there. But yeah, there is a perception of protection. So they feel like because there's a lot of us together, we're protected. And that's an absolute deception. It's not true. They're not protected by that herd at all in the end of the day. When the chips are down, none of these people that are believing the ideology they believe are going to have their back. None of their so-called compatriots in the big subdivided group they've chosen to be in will really have their back or really help them when they need it. They're not going to. But the other point, though, is the big angry mob. They like that big angry mob where it's like, all right, we can come and we can use our numbers to bully and to intimidate people and to try to force them to believe what they believe, and to get this big crowd of people together to humiliate people who do not believe what we believe. And that's what they do. They get together in a big herd, a big angry mob. They all come together. They all shout and yell together. And they have a perceived sense of power in that. Because they are very disempowered as individuals, they do not have a good sense of empowerment as an individual person. They entirely seek to get a sense of power from a collective. So if their big collective, their political thing, their ideological thing, their thing from religion, their thing from the education system, their thing from government, their thing from any of the societal institutions, their whole thing they're going along with, it makes them feel powerful when they see their thing win, or even if they don't see their thing win, just being a part of that big group gives them a sense of power that they do not have as an individual. But they're very deceived by it because they're not going to be able to really achieve goals that are going to really do stuff for them as individuals for the most part. It's kind of all just a big smokescreen, so they can just basically bully people on the other side of their ideology, the people who are their ideological enemies. They can all come together as a group and bully those people and say mean things to those people and to try to humiliate those people or to try to get those people in trouble who they view as ideological opponents. And there's not really any power they get for themselves. The people who are at the top of that, the snakes who are deceiving the sheep and who have power over the sheep, they get a lot of power from it. But the little sheep on the bottom, they don't have no power from it whatsoever. It doesn't work like that. And it's just I don't know. I understand why your average person is deceived into doing this, but it's not going to be good for them in the end of the day. It's a weird way of living. It's a way of living where people really turn their brains off big time and just follow along. And it's a way of living also where you hate outsiders. So anybody who thinks differently, has a different ideology, believes different things, that's an outsider to your group. And now people go, outsider, different, so bad, and they adopt that ideology and that mentality. And the last thing also I want to say is that there is a such thing as a collective for good. There is a such thing as being God's sheep. There really is, but it's different from what these people are doing as being a collective of evil. And the thing about these people who are being a collective of evil is they are ultimately worshiping their own ego. They are ultimately worshiping carnality. They're worshiping the way of the world, the way of man, the way of we're going to build these buildings and we're going to have a government and have these laws and we're going to have this whole society and whatever. They really, in the end of the day, that is what they worship. They don't worship love and kindness. They don't worship truth. They don't worship the creator who made this, who made all of us. That's not really what they're into in the end of the day. And it takes some wisdom and some higher knowledge to know that. But the thing about being God's sheep is, when the Bible was written, in the Middle East back in the day, being a shepherd was a very common profession. It's what a lot of people did. And when God spoke to people and he said, I am the good shepherd, I look after the lost sheep, people who were shepherds themselves could really, really relate to that, because they were shepherds and they had sheep and they wanted to take care of their sheep and protect their sheep. And, that's why that metaphor is used. And, we are like sheep to God. God's a lot smarter than us. He knows a lot more than we do. He has the highest knowledge. So in a lot of ways, we are like sheep to God. But, we should choose what we submit ourselves to, though, too. And that's what I want to get at here is, a lot of people, they just unknowingly submit themselves to the great beast of society. They just do. Everyone else is doing it, and it doesn't really feel like they're submitting themselves to anything because it feeds their own egos. They're like, well, it's just submitting myself to my own ego, really. But by doing that, they are really submitting themselves to the beast of society and submitting themselves to the devil. But when you're able to say, hey, like, I can't figure this stuff out all on my own, I need a higher power, I need someone who knows more than I do, who has more understanding than I do, you can submit yourself to God through humility, through recognizing that you don't have all the answers. And when you choose to submit yourself to God and to be God's sheep, you do become a part of the godly collective. Right now we're scattered. Right now we are not all together, but we will be gathered together. We will be gathered together, and we will sit in the pastures, in the very good pastures of the Good Shepherd. We will do that. But right now we're all divided out. And I also want to say, like, God does not want us to be these mindless, like, drones. Like, that's more what it is with the people in the Matrix, with the people who follow the beast of society, with the people who just conform really hard. They kind of make themselves into these mindless, angry, weird drones. Angry, easily frustrated, emotionally unstable drones who are very, like, spoiled and obnoxious and expect things to be handed to them. They're these entitled angry robots. These entitled angry, like, ego bots. Entitled angry narc bots. Servants of the serpent. They do that. And it's just like this blind, kind of almost unquestioning, like, loyalty to it. They're never going to actually think about why they do this stuff they do, why they're so into the things they're doing, why the world works the way it works. They're not going to think about that. They're just going to mindlessly go along. I have to buy this new thing, and I'm going to do all this, whatever, all this fake political morality, and I'm going to follow the system, and everyone else is doing it, so I need to do it too. Whereas God calls us to actually think for ourselves. God made us in his own image, and he wants us to live like it. He wants us to act like it. And in exchange, we will be his sheep, and he will look after us, and he will protect us. But we have to choose the good shepherd, though, because the serpent is going to call, and he's going to tell you all this stuff you want to hear and feed your ego. And he's also going to play manipulative games and make you scared and make you feel like you have to go along with it. And if you don't go along with it, you're going to be an outcast, and you're going to have social consequences and stuff like that. Whereas God says, I am the one who made you. I am your maker. I'm the one who is of love and kindness. I'm the one who is of truth. And you have to make the choice of who you're going to follow. Are you going to follow God, or are you going to follow the devil? And most people, because they get manipulated into it, they get deceived into it, it feeds their ego, they're scared, whatever, they lack courage, they lack the ability to think for themselves, they go right along and they follow the serpent into deception. They do. They really do. And one last thing with the herd is, the herd wants to gang up on us as people who think for ourselves, as good people, chosen ones, whatever you want to call us, spiritually awakened people. The herd wants to turn against us, and that's a big reason why they're in it. They're like, we can all get together, we can gang up, and we can attack these people who are different than us, who think different than us, who try to live lives of love and kindness, who try to live lives of truth, who try to truly follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, whatever you want to call that. They want to come together in their herd and come and attack us. And they think that they have all these numbers and they have this big group, and because they're all going to come together, they're going to have the victory. But they will not. They will all be defeated. They will all fall apart. You know, they're a bunch of little silly hyenas, and we're a big strong lion, and we're going to rip them apart. And they're going to lose in the end, because we have God on our side, who is truly strong, who is truly our maker. You know, we have goodness and love and kindness on our side, and we have truth on our side, and we have the one who brought us on our side, and we have Jesus Christ, the true Lord, who died for our sins. We have him on our side. And they don't. But because they are short-sighted, they do not see that. So they think, well, we're here, everyone else is doing this, we got a big crowd of people, this seems like the right thing, let's go and persecute these people who are different than us. Let's go and persecute these people who try to live good lives. And it will fall back on them in the end of the day. It will blow up in their face in the end of the day, and it will not work for them in the end of the day. And they're a bunch of cowards. They can't fight their own battles. You know, mano-a-mano, one-on-one, they are going to every single time run out of the room. They're gonna, the wicked will flee without being pursued. They will. And that's what they're gonna do 100% of the time, is run out of the room. They're not trying to fight a fair fight, mano-a-mano. They think they're gonna have this big crowd of people behind them. And in the end of the day, it's like the herd doesn't really work together that well. A couple people might gang up, but for the most part, they're gonna be fighting these battles for themselves. It's just like a herd of deer. When the wolves show up, everyone runs away anyways. So they're not really nothing. But this whole world is like a bunch of lemmings running off a cliff. This whole world is just like a stupid pack of hyenas that want to get together and mess with you. You know, this whole world is just kind of like that. And everyone is just in this very dumb herd mentality, and they cannot think for themselves whatsoever. So, yeah, I'm going to end this one here. But thank you all so much for watching. Much love. God bless. And I will see you all next time.